We'll start with the special session of the Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District Board. And can I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Kavanaugh?
Here.
Vice Chair Brown?
Here.
Board Member DePorter?
Here.
Board Member Yates?
Present.
Board Member Hanson?
Here.
Board Member Magazine? And Board Member Leger?
Here. Consideration of approving the Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District Board meeting minutes of June 4th, 2015. There is no staff report. Any board discussion? Not. A motion to...
Mayor, so moved. Chairman, so moved.
And second. Any speaker cards?
No, Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Chairman 6-0.
Thank you. Consideration of Resolution EMCFD 2015-05 approving adoption of issuance and post-issuance compliance procedures relating to tax-exempt bonds for the Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District. Grady?
Actually, before the council and the public tonight, we have the issuance of post-compliance procedures. And Craig, you want to just come up and just explain what these are, please? Our finance director will go ahead and explain this.
All right.
Mayor, council members, the issuance and post-issuance procedures are recommended best practices by the Securities and Exchange Commission to demonstrate to our bondholders that we have made commitments during the bond issuing, the undertaking, and that we will comply with the requirements, which essentially means that we will post our annual reports to the SEC website, which is called EMMA, and that we will provide any notice of significant events that occur, and they have listed what those events are.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. Any board discussion or questions for Craig? Any speaker cards?
No, Chairman.
All right. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, so moved. Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Chairman 6-0.
Consideration of Resolution EMCFD 2015-03 levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the district subject to ad valorem taxation a certain sum upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amounts estimated to be required in the annual budget, specifically for the purpose of paying principal and interest upon bonded indebtedness, all for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016. Grady?
Yes, District Chair and members of the board, this item before you is a resolution that basically establishes the levy for next fiscal year, and the levy is used to collect what would be the taxes in order to pay the indebtedness on the behalf of the district.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? And any speaker cards?
No, Chairman.
Can I get a motion?
Chair, so moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Chairman 7-0.
And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Special Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District Board is adjourned. Now we will go to the special session of the Cottonwoods Maintenance District Board. And may I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Kavanaugh?
Here.
Vice Chair Brown?
Here.
Board Member DePorter?
Here.
Board Member Hanson?
Here.
Board Member Yates?
Present.
Board Member Magazine?
Here.
And Board Member Leger?
And any speaker cards on this item?
No, Chairman.
Consideration of approving the Cottonwoods Maintenance District Board meeting minutes of June 4th, 2015. There's no staff report. And any board discussion? If not, can I get a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any speaker cards?
No, Chairman.
All right. And consideration of resolution CMD 2015-03 assessing upon the individual lots and parcels within a district a certain sum sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget to provide funds for maintenance of certain pedestrian areas, parking, and parkways, all for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015 and ending June 30th, 2016. Grady, please.
Yes, District Chairwoman and members of the board, essentially this resolution is establishing what the assessments will be for next fiscal year. This particular maintenance district provides maintenance in this area, and this resolution before you tonight will provide the funding by assessing the residences that are located in this district.
All right, thank you, Grady. Any board discussion or questions for Grady? Any speaker cards?
No, Chairman.
All right, then again, I get a motion. And a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Chairman, 7-0.
All right, then we are up to adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Special session is adjourned. Now we will go on to our regular agenda. I call the regular agenda meeting to order. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our invocation. Pastor Todd Forrest of the Fountain Hills Christian Center is with us tonight.
As we pray this evening, I'd like us to also remember the issues that are going on in South Carolina and those communities also. Lord Jesus, I thank you that you are God that hears prayers today. I thank you for this community that you have allowed us to live in, not just for its beauty, but for its people. And I thank you, Lord Jesus, that we can stand together and that we can live well, we can be trusting to each other, and I thank you for the protection we have enjoyed and the safety that we have had. And Lord, we want to gather our thoughts and our prayers together for a community that's hurting so bad this evening. And Lord, I ask that you would just pour out your blessings on those 9 families this evening, and that you would just let them know the power of your comfort and your care in this time of loss. And Lord, for all the circumstances surrounding this, we pray for your protection for our churches, Lord, for our council members, Lord, for our businesses, and that we would not let evil reign in our country or in this world, but we would raise up a standard of righteousness, a standard that will be a good moral base for us to live our lives and raise our families. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Todd. One second, I'm going to find my proclamation. Where's my proclamation? We have so many pages tonight. Yeah. We did.
Mayor, I've had one speaker card turned in, and I have no idea which item this person wants to speak on. Yvonne Wyman, there's no number.
Okay, we'll start with the roll call.
Mayor Kavanaugh,
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown,
Here.
Councilmember DePorter.
Here.
Councilmember Yates.
Present.
Councilmember Hanson. Councilmember Magazine.
Here.
Councilmember Leger.
Here.
Okay. Proclamation. Parks and Recreation Month, July 2015. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the town of Fountain Hills. And whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the town of Fountain Hills recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, I, Linda M. Cavanaugh, Mayor of the town of Fountain Hills, Arizona, hereby proclaim July 2015 as Park and Recreation Month in the town of Fountain Hills. Okay, that's great. All right, so now, do we have that speaker? Is that on the?
She provided the number she wants to speak on.
Oh,
Thank
so
you.
it's not off the agenda?
No.
Okay. All right, then we will, anyone else for call to the public?
No, Mayor.
No? Okay. Then we'll go to our consent agenda. One of our consent agenda items, number 13, has been pulled off the consent agenda at the request of Councilman Leger, and that will be the first one heard on the regular agenda items. So we are considering 12 items, 1 to 12, and I ask for a motion to accept as written.
So moved. Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember DePorter.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Yates.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson. Councilmember Magazine.
Aye.
Councilmember Leger. Mayor 7-0.
Thank you. All right, now we go on to our regular agenda items. We'll start off with item number 13 from our consent agenda. Consideration of a contract for legal services between the Town of Fountain Hills and the Law Office of Mark Ecovino for fiscal year 2015-16 and fiscal year 2016-17. Grady?
Actually, I think I'll give that back to Councilmember Leger, who
Very
had
good.
some comments.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you.
Councilman Leger?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that was on the consent agenda. Typically, we don't vote on consent agenda items. It's an item that's worthy of a discussion, further discussion and vote, and I'm going to suggest we do that at another time in the future. Therefore, I move for continuance to place this item on the September 3rd council agenda for discussion and consideration while extending the current contract in the interim. Additionally, the agenda item is to be accompanied by a comprehensive staff report summarizing arrest and citation data and trends for the past 2 years. That is information needed to make an informed decision. Thank you, Mayor.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Council discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
All right, this is tabled till September. Number 14, consideration of appointing 3 citizens as commissioners on the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, that are known as SPAC, each for a term beginning on July 1st, 2015, and expiring on June 30th, 2017. I move to appoint Dana Saar, Bernie Honley, I hope I'm saying that right, and George Simon to serve on the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, each for a term beginning on July 1st, 2015, and expiring on June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. I just want to thank the council, those council who sat on and chose these 3 and interviewed, and I thank you for your extra time. And I also want to thank Alice Brovin and Nancy Ordowski, who also served on this commission, and this will be the expiration of their term. So thank you, both Alice and Nancy, for the time that you gave to the town to serve on the commission. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Congratulations, Dana, Bernie, and George. Are any of them here today? Any of them here? Not here. Okay, we'll let them know. Number 15, Consideration of request by the Public Art Committee to accept a sculpture titled Fountain Spirit for placement on the Avenue of the Fountains, Fountain Plaza. Grady?
Mayor and council, before you is a request from the Public Art Committee to accept a sculpture. It's entitled Fountain Spirit, and Community Services Director Mark Mayer will give a brief presentation.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council. Actually have for consideration 2 art pieces, the first of which is called Fountain Spirit. Same thing happened last time. I didn't do it. Thank you. This particular piece is scheduled for placement in the Fountain Hills Plaza. If you recall, there are a number of art nodes that are available on the plaza. This one would be directly across from Town Hall. The piece has a value of $21,334. It's contemplating that the funding would come initially in a half, provided of $10,667 by Wally and Sheila Nichols. Second half would be contributed by Jerry and Jackie Miles, and then the final one half would be $670 from the FHCCA. Joining me this evening are also 2 members of the FHCCA, Sandy Thompson and Gene Linzer, in case you have any questions of either myself or they. They're proposing to raise half of the balance then, the duration, through the small black plaque program, which they will show you in a second here. I'll be posting a large bulletin board similar to what was done on another piece in Centennial Circle. Plaques will be sold for $500 to $1,000, excuse me, from $500 to $1,000, big difference. If this other effort does not raise the required $10,667 balance remaining within a 1-year period, Jackie and Jerry Miles have committed to contribute any deficiency. Also included in your packet is a site map. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. You also included in your packet was a picture of what the plaques would look like that they were proposing.
Any questions for Mark? And Councilman Leger?
Thank you, Mayor. Mark, could you give me a little more description of where that particular plaque will be located and the actual size of it?
It is a fairly large piece. I believe it has the dimensions. It is 11 3/4 feet tall by 5 feet wide by 3.5 feet deep. The base is 2 feet in diameter, so it's a fairly large piece. And then again, in your packet should be a site map showing the location on the Avenue of the Fountains. It's the first art node right out in front of Town Hall here. It actually faces this direction.
Where will the monument be located?
To the side, one side or the other of the piece. And it would be facing towards the center of the plaza.
Sandy, if I may ask,
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes,
defer to your
Councilman.
artistic capabilities that you've demonstrated over the years. Do you feel that that might distract from the art itself? I mean, it's really huge.
It is, but that if you look at the one that's in the Centennial Circle, it's on the wall, it is actually the same size
Basically
as
the
that.
same size?
And it will be of a material that's very similar to the sculpture. So we feel that, we feel that if it's put down, not up like that, but just sort of down and maybe raised a little bit, like that much off the ground, it won't be obtrusive.
That helps. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? No, we certainly want to thank the Miles and the Nichols for their generous donation to this. And I know that they've mentioned the museum is already collecting for the first plaque for Evelyn Bredding, who passed away recently, so.
Yes, in memory of Evelyn Bredding. And that one is,
Do you want to use the mic? Could you use the mic? No one else will be able to hear you.
yeah, the Evelyn Bredding one we are collecting for. This is a $1,000 plaque. These smaller ones are the $500 ones. And we're raising money, and if anyone wants to donate, we'd be glad to have it. FHCCA.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, can I get a motion, unless there are speaker cards? No?
No speaker.
Can I get a motion to accept the sculpture?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
All right, thank you. I see there's a lot of people standing in the back. We've got lots of seats up front, so if you want to come up and have a seat, there's lots of seats on both sides. You don't have to stand.
Front of the class.
Okay, consideration of request by Public Art Committee to accept a donated painting titled Ode to Fountain Hills Fountain for placement in the community center lobby. Mark again?
The second piece for consideration, as you indicated, is the Ode to Fountain Hills Fountain. Being requested to accept the piece and for placement in the lobby of the community center. The artist is Jack Morris, and the piece has a value of $550. The painting is being donated by the Evelyn Bredding Estate. Then again, in your packets, is there a picture not only of the art piece itself, but also the proposed location within the lobby of the community center. So with that, I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
A fitting place for it since Evelyn Bredding spent half her life in the
Exactly.
community center. Any speaker cards on this item?
No, Mayor.
Any council discussion? If not, can I have a motion to accept this painting?
Mayor, so moved. Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you,
Thank
Sandy
you.
and Jean, for coming out. Consideration of accepting the invitation for bid from Artistic Land Management Incorporated in the amount of $308,705 for the annual landscaping contract with the town of Fountain Hills. Grady, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council, before you is a request for an award of a bid to Artistic Land Management in the amount of $308,705. This is for the annual landscaping contract. Basically, our town, if you look at all the parks, our right-of-way, the grounds around the municipal complex here, those are all maintained essentially by a landscape company. And so it's quite an extensive contract. I'd like to have Mark give a brief presentation on this item.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council. Just a quick update. I have included with me this evening the park supervisor, Don Clark, street superintendent, Justin Weldy, and Mr. Hernandez, and along with a number of his employees, who is the owner of our Artistic Land Management Company. We are ending the 5th year of a 5-year contract with Artistic. They have been maintaining our parks and other rights-of-way areas for a period of 5 years now. We had an annual contract, and then it was renewed for 4 years, giving a total of 5 years. We're proposing a similar contract identical to that for this period going forward. The contract was bid, advertisements, Fountain Hill Times, and the Arizona Business Gazette, as required by law. As Town Manager Grady indicated, it includes parks, meetings, open space, and the new plaza. So we combine all those together because we think it benefits us with a best price based on economy of scale. Bids were received and opened at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, May the 19th. The low bid was Artistic Land Management at a cost of $308,705. I included in your packet also a letter from Sam Moza, representing Verde Valley Nursery, who was asking for reconsideration. The issue for him became that there's a requirement in the bid documents that says you have to have at least one project that equals 75% of the bid total, and his did not reach that total. I spoke to him both before he submitted the bid and after he submitted the bid, but I included it in your packet at his request.
Okay.
So with that, I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thanks, Mark. Questions for Mark? Questions for Mark on this side?
Madam Mayor.
And Councilman Yates.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mark. Can you tell us what the bid was? I was looking through this where it started 5 years ago, where it ended, and what the increase, if any, for this bid?
Let me turn that over to Don Clark, because it covers a lot of different areas. And in the past, we, for instance, didn't include the plaza in the request. It was on another department.
So the scope changed then?
The scope has
So
changed
it's not apples to
significantly.
apples?
Correct.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you, Mayor.
And we have one speaker card.
Sam Mosa.
Good evening. Verde Valley submitted a bid, as Mark Mayer indicated.
Just give me your name first.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sam Musa with Verde Valley Nursery.
Okay.
Live and work in Fountain Hills.
Okay.
We submitted a bid for the landscaping maintenance. We were about $70,000 less per year, which equivalent to about $350,000 over the course of 5 years. We have been doing, and as Mark indicated, one of the stipulations state that we need to meet 75% of that project. We were about, and based on our bid, we should have been at 175, and the most we got out of one project is 125. However, over the course of the year, we do over $1 million in different projects. And as I told Mr. Mayor before, that it's a lot easier satisfying one individual and one entity than satisfying 500 different entities. So what I'm requesting is to have the bid, to have this project rebidded, and I'm requesting to have the stipulation of 2.16 of 75% reduced to 50%, so we'll allow local companies that are capable of achieving that job and accomplishing the job, but due to the fact that the numbers are not there, we were not able to achieve it. And I would like to point that we also do right now some work for the city of Fountain Hills in cleaning the parcel drainage. And to my understanding, we've been doing a good job at that as well. So we do have the manpower, we do have the financials, and we do have the capability of completing that project. And the only reason we have not met the requirement is that one project. We don't have 175,000 generated from one project. Yet I want to emphasize that we do generate way above that in the course of the 1 year. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Yates?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is a question for Andrew. What would be the stipulations of rebidding at this point?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Yates, the only thing that you can do at this point is to toss all bids and rebid the project with the revised, with the requested revision to the scope. As you remember, that's a reduction down from what was, it used to be 100%, now it's down to 75%, since we did the median project.
Vice Mayor Brown?
Thank you. And this might, I don't know who to direct this question to, but is that stipulation standard in most of the contracts for landscaping around the valley?
Again, I'm only familiar with this one. I can't answer that. But I know other places I've been, we did have a stipulation on service contracts that they had to have something similar. Again, I would remind the council that the best predictor of job performance is current job performance. And that's the reason why we are recommending Artistic, because we've been using them for 5 years and have been very happy and satisfied with the work they have done. My concern with bidding it again is not only the time and expense of doing so, but also the contract expires the end of this month, so we would need to approach and potentially extend that contract, because we're about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks from that drop dead date.
Mark, isn't Verde Valley doing work for the town in the drainage ditches right now also?
Yes, they are.
Nice.
The only thing I would add there, obviously, brushing out washes is significantly different than mowing and landscaping large turf areas. We're looking at almost 40 acres, hundreds of trees to be trimmed, aeration, fertilization, pre- and post-emergent pesticide applications. If you look in the letter, I have no doubt that Mr. Mosa is very much committed. My concern is, in the letter includes language that staff needs to be hired, equipment needs to be purchased. I don't think they're in a position to move right now, and I recognize it's been many years since I priced a groundsmaster mower, but at that time it was $30,000. I suspect it's approaching $40,000 or $50,000 at this point. So that is also my concern, is about those equipment and capital costs.
Okay, thank you. Any other council discussion? None.
Mayor.
Any speaker, any other, Councilman Magazine?
I would always prefer, if possible, to give contracts to local companies. I think that's in our best interest as a community, but after hearing staff, I think we would be taking a risk, especially since the company we now have has been operating for 5 years and, according to staff, doing an outstanding job. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to move to approve the contract as submitted.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any other council discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you, Mark. Consideration of the Community Services Advisory Commission recommendation regarding the operation of the dog park in Desert Vista Park, which was tabled from the March 19, 2015 council meeting.
Seems like it's my night, Mayor and council members.
It's a good thing you didn't sit down.
If you recall at that meeting that took place on March 19th, the decision was made by the council to extend the deadline for 2 months to give an opportunity for the work committee from the Community Services Advisory Commission to continue to work with ADOG in an attempt to resurrect the group and then come forward at that point with a recommendation, hopefully, and the support financially from the ADOG group. Joining me again this evening, as he did back on March 19th, is the chair of that group, who's also a member of my commission, Mr. Don Doty. And I included in your packets three pieces of information that he gave me. One is specific to his proposal for Plan B. The second one is an update regarding the status of ADOG, and then there's a newsletter in there as well from ADOG. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Doty.
Okay, thank you. All right, Don, good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Happy to be back. Madam Mayor, Council, staff, and guests, my objective this evening is to petition the Council's endorsement of a barking noise abatement project for the dog park.
Don, we pull the mic down.
That's
We want to hear you.
That's funded by ADOG at no cost to the town. The initial noise abatement program recommended by the Community Service Advisory Commission and presented to the Council 3 or 4 months ago was delayed pending the resolution of ADOG as a funding source. The initial all-inclusive noise abatement project that was presented then was around $7,500. It was stated that there was no current town budget available to fund the estimated cost, and that new funding required was a burden in light of other priorities and the financial condition for the next couple of years. ADOG has now granted $1,000 to the town for this project. ADOG has been revived. They held a successful fundraiser. They selected candidates for the board of directors and held elections last Saturday. The new elected board is in the process of getting organized and assuming the responsibilities of the association. The remaining funds in the ADOG treasury is about $2,000. In order to take advantage of the $1,000 donation, a revised, lower-cost plan is being proposed that is still in line with the Commission physical recommendations, but at a reduced scope. The abridged proposal was reviewed at the Community Service Advisory Commission at the May meeting. The low-cost plan, which we're calling Plan B, does not include the signage that was originally planned, or the posting of the new rules, flyers, or the chain link fence that was going up on the planner. It does include, however, the Commission recommended the 3-foot fence, the 3-foot 100% privacy screen mesh on the fence across the entryway along Tower, and the same mesh material on a sliding gate separating the two dog parks. Instead of the chain link fence, an inexpensive 2.5-foot high temporary garden wire fence along the perimeter of the planter on the small dog park is proposed. This will provide sight barriers at the three areas that are the major contributors and the source of the dog barking when these dogs see, greet, and challenge each other through a fence. The mesh installation is intended to be permanent. It has a warranty of several years and a 10-year life. The mesh is available for around $450 per lineal foot. The temporary garden fence is less than $100 per 100 foot. The plan can be completed in a day or so for under $1,000 material. A number of residents, dog park users, and even the Trailblazers have offered to help if we need them for installation. After an evaluation period, we can then determine if the site barriers are effective and how we fund the replacement of the temporary fencing. A-Dog organization may be a funding source for future dog improvements. I recently learned a number of years ago, a 3-foot bamboo site barrier was placed on the fence separating the large and the small parks. And it had a high degree of success and reduced the barking significantly. I provided a general write-up in your package that addresses a number of technical considerations, which I don't plan to go into, relative to sound propagation, effectiveness of noise barriers, structural fence, wind loads, as well as the suitability of employing various other materials as sight and sound barriers. Tonight, I propose on behalf of the Commission, A-Dog, park users, and especially the residents, that the Council endorse this lower cost, reduced scope, no cost to the town, Plan B. Thank you.
So what's the bottom line? What's it costing us?
Nothing. It'll cost $1,000 to put these two major elements in.
Okay.
One is for the mesh that goes around the front
Right.
that screens off the dogs so they can't see dogs coming in or going out. And the fence that separates the two parks at the very back on the gate, and put this wire mesh fence on the inside on the small dog soccer so they can't jump up on the divider and chase each other back.
And all of this is just $1,000?
$1,000, $675 for the mesh and $300 for the fencing. The fence, as I said, it's temporary. May have to be replaced sometime in the future, but it would certainly prove a point, and it would alleviate the noise immediately. Everybody that goes to the park pretty much agrees that those are the sources, and if we can fix those sources, then everything else becomes easy, and we don't have to do any more very serious implementations.
So just so I'm clear, and the rest of the money that you need other than the $1,000 is going to be raised by A-Dog?
I didn't say that.
Well,
I hope
I
that.
want to know where the money's
You know,
Well, you said you had 2,000 more.
there is 2,000 more, but they're just getting reorganized right now. We don't know how many bills they have or don't have.
Okay.
And I think we need to wait and let their coffers clear. They have planned for doing some fundraisers, and in the future, they may very well have additional funds to replace that temporary fence with a chain link fence, or maybe some other medium. But it'd be well worth doing this now to get something done. Most of it is permanent and would not have to be replaced, and I believe it would resolve the problem. And it was done once before and proved to be effective.
Okay. All right. Hang in there, Don. Let me go to the council and see if anyone, Councilman DePorter?
Thank you, Don. I like the idea of this low-cost temporary, although it's temporary solution, to see if the very much more expensive solutions would even work. What had originally got submitted was the fencing along the top of the planter. All those things come at such a high cost, but what you're saying will actually do that same effect just to see if it even works.
Right.
And then we can decide later if chain link is going to look really weird, which it probably will, or you just complete the block wall and just fill in the planter and save some water, or do something like that.
Yep.
Another thing I thought of, and it might be a question for Mark, was much like I live by Fort Peaks Park, and the gates get locked at night as far as the parking lot. Do we have the resources to lock that gate to help with the park hours, the barking before and after? Certainly they can bark around the park, but I guess they wouldn't be in the dog park.
page numbers on it, so I know which. Years past, before the budget cuts, we would have 2 park attendants on duty at any one time. Now we have 1 person on duty. They are spread very, very thin. It would put them in a position where park staff, some 700 and plus times a year, they'd be responsible for opening and closing the gates, regardless if they're in the middle of dragging a ball field or have cordoned off a restroom and they're in the midst of cleaning it, those kind of things. So if we were to have that second person, I'd be much more confident that we could do that. The other issue I think we have is we tend to get the complaints associated with both the spring and the fall. And what I get a sense of, it's that period of time when people are starting to open their windows and doors again because the weather's getting nice. And so they start to get that barking noise. But I think if we can continue to work with and reassert to the county the need for animal control to be down there to make sure that people aren't accessing the site ahead of time and that they are in fact following the rules and doing it at 5 o'clock. The rest of the time, you know, it gets dark early enough that it's not really an issue. It's just this time of year that it's the most egregious. But again, the barking doesn't seem to get the same number of complaints because the doors and the windows are not open and people are running their air conditioners, that kind of thing. So it's somewhat of a seasonal thing too.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody on this side? Councilman Leger?
Mark, or Don, thank you for your comments regarding park hours. You know, I've listened to this discussion, gone to commission meetings, and I appreciate the work that you folks are doing and the money that you're raising. I think at the end of the day, we all know dogs bark, and it's a dog park, and you're going to do what you can to remediate the sound. But I believe we owe it to the residents in the area to enforce the hours of operation. And Mark, you suggested the county. Maybe that will work. So Don, I just challenged ADOG to see if you can come up with a solution there. Because once again, neighbors call me, they email all of us, and you know, once again, dogs bark and you're adjacent to a dog park. However, when that's occurring, and I'm invited to someone's backyard to listen to barking before hours, and it does occur, that to me is an issue, and we owe it to the residents in that area to remediate that particular issue. Thank you.
I agree with you in that we do owe it to the residents to do something that would ameliorate the noise. I also would suggest that through ADOG, there'll be a lot of self-governance, which there hasn't been right now. I think through the communication that would open, there would be a lot of people who would help each other obey the rules. A lot of people don't know the rules, but I think that not necessarily enforcing, but just the communication would help a lot.
Thank you for that. I'm hopeful that the revamped group and/or the county can address that. So time will tell. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Councilwoman Hanson.
Real quick, if we went along with that option, could the town still go ahead and add to the rules, make the changes to the rules?
Absolutely. The thing I took out was the new signage that would post those new rules. That was $1,200. But yes, we can put in new rules.
Since there were 3 recommended to add.
That's true.
Okay. And I noticed also on this packet, and you had mentioned at the commission meeting that you wanted to do a $1 add-on to dog license fees, and I guess you know that I wasn't in favor of that. So are you dropping that, or?
I didn't bring it up because
Okay.
it was not popular last time we did.
Not popular. Well, not everybody uses the dog park or owns a dog.
I said this
so.
is a subset of what the commission
Exactly.
authorized.
Just asking, so I'm
Yeah.
clear on what you're asking us to do.
No.
And just also piggybacking on to what Councilman Leger says, I remember years ago when ADOG was pretty much in charge of the dog park. As they were there with their dogs, they did a lot of self-policing. And I know I was there one day when one of our staff members actually got set upon by some of the dogs, and not a lot of people got up to help him. And he got scratched, and that was... We want to make sure also that the people there are in control of their dogs, and so it'd be great if we get back to the self-policing that was done
Yeah.
years ago.
I might add that in a very short period of time, there's been an awful lot of people, dog users, that have shown a great deal of interest. As a matter of fact, the fundraiser we had with the spaghetti dinner, we had over 100 people, and that was almost on a moment's notice they showed up. And since then, there's been a lot of other people who have joined. And at this time of the year, when a lot of people are gone, so I think we will have a lot of members.
And there's a lot of people who support the dog park,
Right.
who don't even have dogs. I mean, I'm a member, but I only have cats.
Well, bring your cat.
So I'm the cat
That would be fun.
affiliate. So it's open to anybody who wants to support the dogs in the dog park and
right.
just as being a part of our town.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Okay, Don. Any other questions?
Mayor, if I may, I'd like, just for the record, I'd like to reinforce Councilwoman Hanson's suggestion, and that's kind of why I went there, because I noticed the signage was taken out, so we can address that later in terms of what we can do and what it may cost for the town to enhance signage to create more awareness around the park hours. So thank you for all that you've done, and Councilman Hanson, thank you for your suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to our speaker cards. We have two.
Don Logan, followed by John Thompson.
I'm Don Logan, 14061
Just say Fountain Hills.
Fountain Hills.
Okay.
Okay. I'm here to assure you that the project that you just heard will work. And it's worked before. If you think back to the time right before the park was rehabbed to make it much nicer, we had a fellow by the name of Jerry Weiss, who was later president of ADOG, and he had help from Ed McCabe, who's moved to another town, and myself. And Jerry purchased 3 20-foot sections of bamboo, 6 foot. We cut it in half, and we installed it. And between the small dogs and the big dogs, we didn't have enough to completely fence them in. But in that area, which was heavy traffic area, it worked. And why it never, I guess the emphasis was on the new park that was coming. And finally, I've got to apologize to Georgie Logan, who was Bashan, who enjoyed 10 years of running with the big dogs.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Don. That's good information.
John Thompson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm the renewal, I guess, of ADOG. Last week I was elected president, and thank you. I guess it's been about 10 years that I've been walking my dog in that park and listening to the noise that we're all talking about, and it's a problem, and it's a problem that needs to go away. I also believe that the presentation that Mr. Doty made was excellent, hits right on the mark, costs the town nothing, and you can't lose. So hopefully you'll take our money and we'll take a shot at fixing that problem, because I'm a lot more interested in the future and many other problems that I think are of much greater consequence than a barking dog. But that bothers me too, and I want to get rid of it. What we're looking at now is a board that's been assembled that is incredibly talented. I mean, I wish I had a board like that when I was starting a business. We've got auditors, we've got advertising agencies, we've got concerned citizens from the ratepayers group on our board. So it has to be a a cooperative solution. And I think that we're going to be able to accomplish that. But the problem, as far as I see it long-term, is not making a dog quiet. It's taking a look today at this tremendous asset that we have in our town. This dog park, this beautiful dog park, that, by the way, I have a number of friends that are realtors. They use it as a selling point because how many times do these new people coming into Fountain Hills ask, where do I walk my dog? You know that we've got a lot of dogs in this town. I don't know how many people live here in the summer, but there's about 7,000 full-time dogs that are staying here. And I know they're not all licensed, but we want to do that. We want to do a number of things. We want to take a look at things that are a little bit outside the box. If we've got $3,000 in the bank, we don't have a whole lot of leverage, and we don't have a whole lot of time to take of yours. But if we had $25,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 in the bank, then maybe we could really talk about how cooperatively we could put this asset into the type of condition that it deserves. For those of you that don't regularly visit the dog park or don't know the history, it's now been 3 for sure, perhaps 4 years since this facility has been overseeded. Now you go, what does that mean? What it means, over time, patches start to occur that creeping Bermuda could not root to, and you would never have any grass growing in that spot ever again. I've watched it year by year, and that's really my passion. That's why I got involved, and when I heard that, look, I know where the dog park is on the list of priorities. There's a lot of things that are a lot more important. But if we become contributors to the solution and we can generate those funds necessary and work with the town to put this asset back into shape, then I think we'll be doing a good job, and that's an admirable goal. There's a lot of people that want to do it. There's a lot of people that want to help. What have you got today, right now? You've got noxious weeds that are basically invading the entire facility. And you also have poison toads that are starting to creep in there periodically. Dog licks the poison toad, the dog dies. I don't know whether you knew that or not. Anyway, in some conversations that I've had with Don, who works with Mark at the park and maintaining the facility, I know how taxed he is. He explained to me that if you want to save the park and save the turf, you got to get rid of the weeds. In order to get rid of the weeds, one spraying isn't going to get rid of those weeds. You need an annual program. You need to commit 12 months of resources to fix the problem. When you spray the park's got to be closed for a day. You spray it next month, it's got to be closed for a day. Well, that's the reality. That's what's going to have to happen. In terms of the horsepower and the manpower, I think we can create enough interest in this town just from the board that I've talked to now. We're having some hiccups getting all of our records and getting an understanding because it's been really put to sleep for the last couple of years. Well, there's so many people now that want to bring it back to life. We want to be good corporate citizens. We want to work with the town. We want to do what's best for the facility, and we want to make it the pristine asset that it was when I moved here.
Okay. Well, thank you. You certainly have enthusiasm, and thank you for taking on the presidency.
My pleasure.
And we wish you lots of success so that we never have to talk about problems at the dog park anymore. We'd be very happy with that.
We'll just be coming here asking for permission to do certain things that are going to create the revenue that allow us to do what we want to do. So that's coming at a future date.
All right. Thank you, John.
Mayor, I'm curious, do you have a large dog or a small dog?
I have a chocolate lab that's afraid of small dogs. So they bark at her when we walk by the small park. She just keeps on going and goes in. But now what I'm trying to do is visit the park different times of the day and meet all the people, because having 100 people is not enough. I'll guilt them, I'll shame them into throwing us that $20. We'll get them all involved because it's everyone's responsibility. It's everyone's asset.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilman Yates?
Mayor, I move to approve the recommendation of the Community Service Advisory Commission regarding the operation of the dog park in Desert Vista Park.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
All right. Consideration of Resolution 2015-38 authorizing submission of a grant application to the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority for the replacement of tennis courts at Golden Eagle Park and Four Peaks Park, and approving the acceptance and execution of any resulting grant agreement. Grady?
Yes, Mayor and Council, before you is a request from staff from Community Services Department to submit a grant to the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority. With us tonight is Rachel Goodwin, and she's going to give a brief presentation on the project and what we hope to accomplish.
Rachel, before you get started, I want to congratulate you on securing the Tourism Prop 302 grant for a little over $26,000. That was really outstanding.
Thank you. We were very excited to accept that as well. That was a big win for us. So
We've also been designated as Playful City.
Yes.
Once again, is this our
Fifth year.
Fifth year. And congratulations on that also.
Thank you. We're very excited to do both. Tonight's presentation is sort of a foot in each side of the house, both recreation and tourism. We have been reviewing the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority grant. It is a biannual grant that comes up every 2 years. This year it has a fund of about $2 million to be allocated to specific community, municipalities, and nonprofits within Maricopa County. It is designated specifically for sports, youth sports, for hard cost programs, not just tournaments and things like that, but specifically to new buildings or renovations and other things of that nature. I'm here tonight to give you some information about the grant, some information about our current state of our tennis courts, and receive your feedback about applying for the grant. We are looking to replace our courts. This is a photo probably from your packet or something similar that shows the current state of our courts. They are roughly 20 plus years old. They have a number of significant cracks, and the undersurface is pretty damaged. They are asphalt courts. The best analogy I can give you is they're pretty similar to what Saguaro Boulevard looked like prior to our renovations. They just have a time. They have a lifespan, and we're there. So through our research with Park Supervisor Don Clark, we're looking at suggesting the reconstruction with post-tension concrete, which is a standard procedure now for most court construction. We estimate about $44,000 per court, given that these are the only 6 public courts in town. They do see a great deal of use, essentially year-round. Based on reservations, we saw that about 49 weeks out of the year they had programmed things. That doesn't account for any type of drop-in or just feeling like going out and playing a game. So we're here today to solicit your approval to apply for this grant. We are seeking a total funds of $316,800. That is our estimate for total reconstruction. The grant is a 2/3 reimbursement grant, which means we would be responsible for a total of $105,600, of which we hope to utilize the overages in the CIP funds left over from the Phase 6 fountain project.
Okay.
So with that, I turn it over to any questions you might have.
Mayor,
Councilman Magazine?
having played on those courts in the past, I can attest to the fact that when the ball hits a crack, you have no idea what direction it's going to go.
That's true.
Is that your excuse?
That's my excuse. That's absolutely my excuse. That's my handicap, right?
It's a strategy.
Aim for the cracks, right. 60% of the total project value is what we're requesting, as I understand it. And apparently there can be an in-kind contribution to offset a portion of the difference. Do we have any kind of an in-kind contribution that we can make?
We have support, however, no financial support from both the school district and the Boys and Girls Club, who are both users adjacent to both sets of courts. So while we do have their support, we do not have any financial support from those two entities. We have not had any other in-kind suggestions or donations at this point.
And would you repeat what you said about funds left over in the CIP?
Sure. In conversation with Finance Director Craig Udolphi, we've identified that it looks like there will be an overage in the CIP funds allocated for Fountain Park Phase 6. We have also talked with Mark Mayer to confirm that those calculations are indeed accurate, and so we would like to reallocate those funds to this project should the grant be awarded.
I'm all for redoing the courts, but just one question, I guess, of staff, well, your staff. Is there any competition for those leftover funds? Is there anything, if we approve this, is there something else that we won't be able to do?
Not that I know of. We came together as a staff in terms of the Parks Department, myself and our director, to decide if this grant was something we wanted to pursue, and if we did, what was the greatest need. And really, it came back to the tennis courts as needing that type of renovation. And knowing the dollars behind it that it would require, this really looks like our only avenue to pursue in order to do that, because we know the budget probably can't maintain that. We don't have a budget to do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any sense as to our chances of getting the grant?
Historically, so the last year the grant was awarded was 2014. They had 22 applicants. Of those, 19 were funded. The 3 that were not, 2 dropped out because they were not able to secure their portion of the funding, so they're 1/3. And the other one had some other complications behind the scenes that they had to withdraw themselves.
Thank you.
Councilman Yates.
Thank you, Mayor. Good job.
Thank you. We'll see.
In the event it takes us longer to match, or for whatever reason we decided let's only match so much, what would be the sunset of the grant? How much time do we have to use it?
The grant itself, should it be awarded, they give a timetable of October of this year for the actual award, and we have a timetable until October 31st to accept it, and then we have 1 year from that date to complete the project.
To use it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Rachel? No. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
If not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
And all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Good job, Rachel.
Okay. Some other people have come in the room, so I'll just say what I said before. There's lots of seats on both sides up front if you want to come and sit down. Just offering that if you'd like to sit. Okay, we will go on to 2021, 22, and 23. There is one staff report for both of these items, and I will now open the public hearing. Public hearing to receive comments on a proposed special use permit to allow Salt River Project to install a 20-foot tall faux saguaro smart signal router at 14405 East Morning Dove Drive, located in the R143 zoning district. And public hearing to receive comments on a proposed special use permit to allow Salt River Project to install a 20-foot tall faux saguaro smart signal router antenna at Track K at the Copperwood Resort, located in the R5 zoning district. And if anyone wants to speak on this, either one of these, this is the time when you would put a card in to speak, because once we close this, then there'll be no more public comment. But we're going to start with Bob Grady. Bob?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Senior Planner Bob Rogers is actually going to give a staff report on both public hearing that's on the agenda for item number 20 and 22 at the same time.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. SRP is currently installing smart routers in Fountain Hills as part of their service upgrades. Smart meters are going to be installed shortly thereafter in most of the homes. This report will cover the 2 of the proposed smart router location requests because they are on private property. They are within existing easements, but as such, they are required to have special use permits under the zoning ordinance due to their proximity to other residential units. The Fountain Hills Smart Router locations are shown on the map. The 2 that are highlighted are the ones that are for the special use permits. The tower ID and corresponding street addresses are shown in the upper right table.
040 is near Copperwind on Eagle Ridge Drive, and 310 is a vacant house lot near a utility box at the end of Morning Dove cul-de-sac. More detailed descriptions and locations were included in your packets. The top two pictures show the Morning Dove pole at the end of the cul-de-sac next to the utility boxes. And the bottom two pictures show the location of the pole on Eagle Ridge Drive near Copperwind Drive, again next to the utility box. Rather than simply installing bare antennas in residential areas, SRP is installing a stealth saguaro design, similar to the designs we require for cell towers. The faux saguaros are roughly 20 feet tall. They seem to be the best fit and will be constructed to look as natural as possible. This is a picture of an existing faux saguaro and is the design going to be used in Fountain Hills. All the infrastructure costs will be borne by SRP. The stealth design costs for these two, as well as the other 9 saguaros being installed on town property, will be borne by the SRP Aesthetics Fund. Staff has recommended approval of the special use permit as presented, and the Planning and Zoning Commission also forwarded a recommendation to approve as presented, subject to the stipulations in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, Mayor, and representatives of SRP are here, and they want to make a presentation too.
Okay. All right, we'll go to SRP representatives.
I'm Marianne Ward, Manager of Special Projects for SRP Metering Services.
Robert Goodman, Construction Consultant, Salt River Project.
All right.
Ready?
Welcome.
SRP started the installation of smart meters in 2003, and just like your cell phones, the technology has been significantly improved, significantly more complex than it was originally. So we are now 10 years into the project, and we are in the process of upgrading our entire system. The new system that we are upgrading is a totally in-house controlled SRP environment. It starts with a command center, which is basically an application within SRP's housing system that speaks to a collector. A collector is 60 feet in the air on a wood pole inside an SRP substation, which then speaks to routers. And Bob talked to you about the fact that we do have some routers that we plan to install in Fountain Hills and some that we have already installed in Fountain Hills. The router is 20 feet in the air. And then it speaks to the meters. The meters can hop about 45 to 45 other meters. They speak to the routers speak to the collector, and the collector then speaks to SRP's home-based command center. Currently, the residential smart meters in the town of Fountain Hills go over the air by a third-party commercial cellular network. Like everyone else, we are very concerned about the cybersecurity, and we wanted an entirely closed system. This new system that we are installing has a totally it's an advanced residential system. It is only SRP, and it is closed for just us. What are the benefits of this new program? The benefits will be it allows our customers to see much more robust data usage, which we hope will help them be much more prudent in their energy usage. It will also allow them to move between price plans in a much easier manner than they had historically, where we had to actually change out meters. Whereas in this new methodology, we don't have to change the meter. We can do it remotely. It also provides greater security, which we are obviously very concerned about, so that it would be totally SRP owned. And then it also provides reliability. Yeah, we are very interested in making sure that in an outage arena, we know exactly where the outage is. And in small outages, where it's just a few houses and not a large outage, we can actually see that these meters are out of power before, in many cases, the residents are aware of it. So what did we do is I told you the routers are 20 feet up in the air. SRP has, the router locations was provided by, the recommendation was provided by the vendor, Landis and Gear. We then took that information and looked at SRP's infrastructure, and we tried to make it as user-friendly and as easy as possible. The first location we put routers was on SRP wood poles or metal poles, whether they be transmission poles or distribution poles. We then went to SRP private security lighting. After that, we went to municipal street lighting. And as you know, Fountain Hills doesn't have street lights. You're what we consider a dark sky city, which is beautiful, and so we didn't have the alternative to go to any street lights. That then required that we install poles 20 feet in the air for the router. The town planning and zoning and working with the staff, they were able to come up with an alternative so that we could still install the 20-foot SRP poles, but they would be hid inside a faux saguaro. Now, what we are looking for is, we were able to work with staff. We were also able to work with some of the residents where we had originally planned to put some faux saguaros and do some maneuvering. So we're down to 9 saguaro locations. 7 are already installed. Hopefully you don't even know they're there. I have driven past a number of them and not even know they were there, and I knew that they were supposed to be there. 2 of them are the 2 that we're discussing tonight that are pending special use permits. All the infrastructure costs are borne by SRP, and then the saguaro costs are borne by the town's aesthetic dollars, SRP aesthetic funds. The picture that Bob showed you was a picture of a saguaro in Scottsdale, and we wanted to give you the opportunity to see a saguaro that is actually in Fountain Hills. This is one of the saguaros that we have already installed in the town of Fountain Hills that, as I said, I drove by 3 times. So this is the map you've already seen, and Bob talked to you about the locations we're speaking of. These are the 2 addresses, which, again, Bob made mention of. So where are we now? Our objective, my objective from my executive management, was to get the sparse area network in by April 30th, 2015, which is the end of our fiscal year. We have all but 2 saguaros, which happen to be the last 2 routers that have to be installed. So 74 collectors were installed in November of 14. 882 of the routers were installed. By April 27th of 2015, I had a couple days left to get it finished, which was 99.9%. We were supposed to install 30,000 meters as part of the mesh network. We installed 41,000 meters in that time period. Where are we going next? We have approximately 850,000 residential meters. And so for the next 8 to 9 years, we will be installing between 80 and 90,000 meters a year, changing out the meter. It's a maintenance program for us. And that's our program.
All right, thank you very much. Questions from council? Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Then I will close the public hearing, and I would need 2 motions, one for 21 and 23, as in your packet. I'll entertain a motion for 21.
Mayor, so moved, or do you need a formal reading?
So you could read it.
Mayor, I move to approve the special use permit SU 2015-04 to allow the installation of a 20-foot tall faux saguaro smart signal router at 14405 East Morning Dove Drive as presented. And I also move to approve, well, should we do one at a time?
Let's do one at a time. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. And any other discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0. Mayor, who was the second?
Councilman Porter?
Thank you.
Okay.
Vice
They were
Mayor.
tied. And next one?
I'll finish. Mayor, I move to approve special use permit SU 2015-05 to allow the installation of a 20-foot tall faux saguaro smart signal router at Track K at the Copperwind Resort as presented.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
All right, thank you. One staff report for items 24 and 25. This is the time when we will have the public hearing. I now open the public hearing for 24 to receive comments on a proposed special use permit by Brian and Dion Bayless to allow residential apartment at 11883 North Saguaro Boulevard. The property is located within the C3 Commercial Zoning District. Grady?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Senior Planner Bob Rogers is here and will be giving a presentation or staff report on the special use permit request by the applicants.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Section 12.03F of the zoning ordinance allows residential dwellings to be created within a commercial zoning district, in this case a C3 zoning district, by special use permit only. This special use permit application is by Brian and Dion Bayless, property owners, 11883 North Saguaro Boulevard, for a second-story apartment for their own use above their business. This is an aerial of the property. The property is located between two strip centers currently on Saguaro Boulevard. This is a closer-in aerial and a street view. The better shows the second story, which is being proposed as the apartment. The ground floors would remain as commercial space. Staff recommends approval of the special use permit as presented, and the Planning and Zoning Commission also voted to forward a recommendation to approve this special use permit, subject to the stipulations in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Questions for Bob from the council? Councilwoman Hanson.
Just a point of clarification. I thought there were kind of two different references in the staff materials. One indicated that this was for their own use, and then in another place, it made reference more to, and maybe it was their submittal, made reference to that this would be a rental. So I was just curious if it was really for them or if they intended to rent it out.
My understanding is it's for their own use. They are present if you want to ask them directly.
Okay. Did you want to stipulate that it was for your own use? Come on up. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Brian Bayless. My wife and I own Desert Hills Plaza. The area, of course, if we ever sell the building, the stipulation would be that it would remain as a single family dwelling. So, yes, we are planning on moving there after the remodel, but it would always be that same zoning. So you'd have to look at it as a single family dwelling. It's just one apartment, so it's.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor.
Huh.
The applicant, Brian Bayless, filled one out, but
But you spoke? Okay.
Sarah Rajeski and then Valley Goforth.
Okay, you can have a
Thank you.
seat. Thank you. And just state your name and where you live and when the 3 minutes when the light goes red.
My name is Sarah Rajeski, and I live in Fountain Hills, and I own the property next door, 11881 North Saguaro. And I'm fine with it being a resident. I have concerns if it's a rental because of the property that I own next door and the liability of somebody parking on my property and possibly getting hurt. And if you know the properties, they're very close. So that's my only concern.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Valley Goforth?
No?
She was just here.
Okay. Just to answer that question, is there a designated parking there for the apartment?
The area between the two buildings, yes, there is a driveway through there. In the back of the building is set up with 12 parking spots of its own. Overflow parking, I would presume they would probably get more from our business than they would from the rental, just because it's just one unit. And there's plenty of space for both. It's a 70 by 80 foot area behind the building. And then there's also a common area, the breezeway, which is an additional 300 square feet for a common area. Does that answer the question?
Yes,
I believe
it does.
so. Okay.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions from the council?
Mayor,
Councilman Lachey?
I'll make a motion, move to approve the special use permit to allow an apartment at 11883 North Saguaro Boulevard as presented.
So I have to, hang on a second for the motion. Any other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Nope. Then I will close. Okay. Then I've got to close the public hearing before we do the, do you have a comment, or?
No, it was just a question, I guess, and I don't know
Question's
if
good.
it would be for Andrew.
You can do a question.
Would there be any way to stipulate that apartment parking would have to be on the property?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Hanson, I think the stipulation is certainly allowable under the code. It also is part and parcel with the requirements of the code that you park on site, but if you want to add that, it's certainly within your realm.
So it would be something that would be enforceable if it already lives in the code?
Yes.
Okay.
That be acceptable to the applicant?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then with that, I will close the public hearing and then request a motion for number 25. And now, Councilman Leger?
Would you like me to repeat that?
Yes, you will. Need to repeat it.
All
Thank
righty.
you.
Move to approve the special use permit to allow apartment at 11883 North Swirl Boulevard is presented and subject to stipulation in staff report.
Mayor, second.
All right. Any further council discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Okay. And, okay, it is 7:45. We're going to do one more before we take a break. Staff report for items 26 and 27. All public comment will be taken during the public hearing, which I now open. Grady?
Yes.
Let me read it first, sorry. Public hearing to receive comments on a proposed special use permit by Vladimir Buer to allow the Fountain View Auto Center, a new and used auto dealership at 13040 to 13048 North Verde River Drive. The property is located within the C2 Commercial Zoning District. I hope I said that name correctly. And now, Grady.
Yes,
And Bob.
Senior Planner Bob Rogers will give a brief staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Bob.
This is an application by Vladimir Buick for approval of the special use permit for the Fountain View Auto Center, new and used auto dealership in the downtown area, the corner of Verde River Drive and Parkview Avenue. The site consists of 2 vacant lots on the southwest corner. Total lot area, 17,806 square feet. The zoning is C2 intermediate commercial. Auto sales uses are required to get a special use permit in order to operate in this district. General plan, downtown plan designation for this area is Avenue District, and this proposal is consistent with the downtown plan guidelines. There will be one large 3-story building, 49,054 square feet in size and approximately 40 feet high. Vehicular access to the second floor and rooftop display areas will be via an internal ramp. There will be a bay door in the rear of the building for access from the parking lot and a sliding glass door in the front for access from Verde River Drive. All vehicle display, repair, and storage will be on site. The Plat 208 parking lots in the rear will be for customer use only and will not be used for inventory storage. The building will have a stucco finish with white and aluminum accents, giving it a sleek and modern look. There will be large window areas for a showroom display on the ground floor. There will also be outdoor display areas adjacent to the front of the building, and the design is consistent with the downtown architectural guidelines. Staff recommends approval of the special use permit. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved the concept plan on June 11th, and they also forwarded a recommendation to approve the special use permit as presented and subject to the stipulations in the staff report. And again, the applicant is present. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Questions from council for Bob? Speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
None. Okay, with that.
what-
She did it again.
Well, I'm slow, it's like.
How long have you been on
There's reference in the report that there's an area for a service area, like a waiting service area, I think it referred to. Does that indicate that certain vehicles will also be serviced on site?
It'll be a typical new and used auto dealership, so there will be auto servicing inside, but it's all inside the building.
Okay, like changing oil and that type of thing?
You can ask the applicant about that, but I was assuming it would be your typical service for a dealership.
And I guess I'm only wondering, because if this takes place on the second floor or something, how, mechanical stuff, the waste and things are dealt with.
Would you like to ask the
Because
applicant?
I'm so,
Would you like to ask, we can have the
sure,
applicant
if somebody
come
can
in.
just say
Sure.
how it's.
The applicant here? Come on down. All right,
Vladimir
Councilman
Buer,
Hanson
resident of Fountain Hills.
has a question.
Applicant.
So where will the servicing take place?
On the first floor.
On the first floor? Okay, so it's on the ground
And
floor.
it's going to be a minor service. We in negotiation with the parcel right next to us for service and parts.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Am I repeating it? I couldn't hear you.
Okay, would you like me to repeat myself again? Okay.
Yeah, I think you got to just get closer to the mic.
Okay, thank you.
Get real close to there.
The service will be done on the first floor, and we're in negotiation with the property owner next door for service and parts.
Okay, and that's fine. Clarifying that it's on the ground floor was basically the question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman
Any other
Livingston,
questions?
you have a
Yeah,
question?
I have just a couple of questions. In the same vein, new car sales, the servicing is changing the oil and that kind of thing, but you're also going to have used cars, correct?
Correct.
Will you be doing?
Trade-ins. Trade-ins.
What does that mean?
Vehicles that are going to come in on the trading for a new vehicle.
Okay, so you won't be fixing up cars?
No.
Okay. And do you have any idea what percentage of your vehicles will be new versus used?
It's very difficult to answer that question at this time.
No idea at all?
Not yet.
Well, I'd kind of like to know the answer, because there's a big difference between a new car sales and used car sales. We have several used car facilities in town. What is the timing that you see for construction?
Within 18 months.
Completed in 18 months or started in 18 months?
Completion in 18 months.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, and we have no speaker cards, so I will, thank you. Close public hearing, and I'll ask for consideration of proposed special use permit as just presented. Who would like to make that motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the proposed special use permit to allow the Fountain View Auto Center a new and used auto dealership at 13040 and 13048 North Verde River Drive within the C2 Commercial Zoning District as presented and subject to the stipulations outlined in the staff report.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Okay. All right, we are just approaching 8 o'clock, and we are going to take a break. So, Bob, take a break. About 10 minutes. We'll be back. right in. Okay. Oh, no. Pardon me.
Well, I hope so. They texted, Mike texted me. Good. You know what that means? It will feel really good just as the meeting's over.
Give a flip out or two. Did you see that one video? Can't record it? No.
Bob is ready, and everybody's back, and so let's go. All right, we are back.
Yeah.
All right, we have 4 public hearings, and we are going to take public comment on any of those 4, 28, 30, 32, and 34 as listed. So if anybody wants to speak on any of those 4, you will do it during the public hearing. And I will open the public hearing for agenda items 28, 30, 32, and 34. Public hearing to receive comments on Resolution 2015-31, a proposed minor amendment to the Town of Fountain Hills General Plan 2010, Town Center Area Specific Plan. If adopted, the amendment will allow an assisted living facility to be permitted use within the South End District. Public hearing to receive comments on Resolution 2015-32, a proposed minor amendment to the Town of Fountain Hills General Plan 2010. If adopted, the amendment will allow maximum residential density increase from 12 dwelling units per acre to 27.25 dwelling units per acre to be permitted within town center area. Public hearing to receive comments on Ordinance 15-07, a proposed text amendment to the Town of Fountain Hills zoning ordinance, Section 23.06I. If approved, the amendment will reduce the minimum lot size requirement for pad zoning from 5 acres to 3 acres. Public hearing to receive comments on Ordinance 15-08, a proposed amendment to the Town of Fountain Hills zoning map. If adopted, the amendment would rezone approximately 3.3 acres at 16750 to 16820 North Pole, Norden Parkway from the TCCD zoning district to the Morningside Pad zoning district. If approved, the rezoning will allow the construction of a 111-bed assisted living facility. Grady?
Yes, Mayor and Council, with us once again, is Mr. Rogers, who will be giving a staff report on the Morningstar project. I also want to just point out that before you, at your place at the dais, there is a handout that Mr. Rogers distributed before the meeting, and what that does is it actually breaks down each of these action items, and it has the staff recommendations, and then below that what the Planning and Zoning Commission's actions were, in some cases stipulations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. N. Shea Group, LLC, is proposing Morningstar of Fountain Hills, a 91-room, 111-bed assisted living and memory care facility at the northeast corner of Verde River Drive and Paul Norden Parkway. The site consists of 3 existing vacant lots with a total area of 3.34 acres. It's adjacent to the Lexington Inn on the east and to the Village at Town Center condominiums to the south. The remaining property around the site is vacant. All the vacant property, including this site, are currently zoned TCCD. Morningstar is a pad proposal. In order for this development to be completed, 4 distinct requests have to be fulfilled. Resolution 2015-31 is a request to amend the downtown area specific plan, South End District guidelines to allow assisted living facility as a permitted use. Resolution 2015-32 is an amendment to the general plan to allow a residential density increase from the current limit of 12 units per acre to 28 units per acre. Ordinance 15-07 would amend the zoning ordinance to reduce the minimum lot size of a pad in the downtown area from 5 acres down to 3 acres. And ordinance 1508 would approve the Morningstar pad zone and district guidelines. Morningstar will consist of one large 81,550 square foot, two-story building with a footprint of approximately 45,279 square feet. Building height is just a bit over 31 feet. 91 rooms containing a total of 111 beds. 63 of the rooms will contain 76 assisted living beds. 28 of the rooms will contain 35 memory care beds. There are 2 internal courtyards containing seating, water features, planters, shade structures, outdoor dining areas, and potentially other amenities. The front entry porte-cochere drop-off and pickup area has decorative concrete and is lined with palm trees. The preliminary landscape plan for the rest of the site uses low water use plants and other low water using elements. There are 92 parking spaces in total, with 4 spaces being ADA compliant and 18 spaces being covered parking. Main vehicular access is off Paul Norden Parkway. Secondary access will be off Verde River Drive. And there are pedestrian sidewalk connections throughout the rest of the site. The building has a footprint over an acre in size, and it's 2 stories high, so it's a fairly big building. In order to mitigate that, the design uses wall bump outs, roof line variations, changes in window treatments, wall color variations, and other methods to create visual interest and not to present one massive wall plane. Colors are earth tones with tile roofs and stone accents, and there's a colors and material board which was placed behind you if you care to review it. The colors and materials and the architectural style meet the recommended downtown area development standards in the zoning ordinance. There are 2 general plan amendments being requested in this proposal. Resolution 2015-31 is a minor amendment to the downtown area specific plan. This would allow an assisted living facility to be a permitted use within the South End District. The applicant believes that this project creates a good transition between the condos on the south and the future more dense development, commercial development in the north. Staff has noted in the staff report that the proposal is not consistent with the stated goals of that downtown plan. Resolution 2015-32 is a minor amendment to the general plan. This would allow the maximum residential density to increase from 12 to 28 dwelling units per acre within the downtown center area only. The applicant believes that the density increase is needed in order for the project to make financial sense and also to support the future commercial uses downtown. While staff hesitates to assume that the assisted living facility tenants would provide much support for the commercial activities, the basic premise of having higher residential density in the downtown area is a sound premise and is in accordance with the downtown plan's goals. There are also 2 zoning amendments being requested in this proposal. Ordinance 1507 is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, reducing the minimum lot size requirement for pad zoning from 5 acres to 3 acres. This is in the downtown area only. By its very nature, the downtown area will need a more dense development pattern if it's to comply with the downtown plan's goals. Staff agrees that reducing the size of the pad requirement for pad development in the downtown area is consistent with that goal. Ordinance 1508 is a pad zoning amendment. This is basically the approval of the pad project. It will rezone 3.34 acres from TCCD to Morningstar pad. It will adopt the new pad regulations, and it will allow the development of a 111-bed assisted living facility. Approval of this ordinance 1508 effectively approves the entire project, creates the zoning district regulations that will govern it. Staff has noted their objections to items 4 and 5 in the pad document regarding parking and trash in the staff report. This ordinance really can't be approved unless both the general plan resolutions as well as the above other zoning ordinance are also approved. Failure of any one of those 3 would disqualify this property for pad approval. Staff recommendations are based on current ordinances and regulations, the general plan, and any other area-specific plans that have been adopted by the council and the town. It's staff responsibility to point out whether any proposal is consistent with or inconsistent with those documents and then make recommendations based on those determinations. With that in mind, there are several recommendations regarding the proposal as follows. Staff recommends that the council deny Resolution 2015-31. It's the downtown area specific plan amendment, as the use is inconsistent with the stated goals of the downtown district. The Planning and Zoning Commission, however, voted 5-2 to forward a recommendation to approve this resolution. Staff recommends that council approve Resolution 2015-32, the minor general plan amendment increasing the residential density allowance from 12 to 28 units per acre in the downtown area only. And staff recommended that, and Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-1 to forward a recommendation to approve that. Staff recommends that the council approve Ordinance 1507, the zoning text amendment to allow for 3-acre PADs in the downtown area. And the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 to forward a recommendation to approve that resolution. And staff recommends that council approve Ordinance 1508, the proposed Morningstar pad, if the downtown area specific plan, general plan amendment, and zoning text amendments are also all adopted. Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-2 to forward a recommendation to approve Ordinance 1508, subject to the stipulations in the staff report, as well as staff's recommended amendments to the pad guidelines regarding the parking spaces and trash receptacles. Additionally, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-2 to approve the Morningstar concept plan at their meeting as presented, subject to the stipulations in the staff report, and also subject to council's approval of everything else. That concludes my presentation. The applicants are present. They also have a presentation they wish to make.
All right, thank you, Bob. I'm going to go to the applicant for their presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, council members. First, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Matt Turner with Morningstar Senior Living. I'm one of two principals of the company. We are based in Denver, Colorado, and are partnering with the Enshea Group, who I know that you guys are familiar with for this project. So after I've finished my portion here, I know we're going to get into some of the more technicalities of the project and talk about densities and all the specific requests that are made of you tonight. But before we get into that, I really wanted to start by taking a step back and just telling everyone a little bit more about who we are and what it is exactly that we're doing. There seems to be a lot of confusion, or is a lot of confusion around the senior living space, and as the care for seniors grows and progresses as an industry, it becomes even more nuanced. It's very different than what people imagine of the nursing home, maybe where you visited your grandparents. What we will be doing here is very different from that. So I want to speak to exactly what it is, but first really speak to who we are and why we do what we do. So, as I mentioned, we're based in Colorado. We develop and operate senior living, and that's all we do. We don't do office buildings or apartment complexes or anything else. We're focused solely on developing homes for and caring for seniors. We were founded in 2003 by my business partner, Ken Yeager. He spent his whole career doing exactly this. And we've grown in the last 12 years from just a kind of a small fledgling company to now over 20 properties in 8 states. We've been very active in Arizona. This would be our third project, I guess technically third project in this area. We have a project operating right now in the Arcadia neighborhood. We're about to open a new project very similar to this one in the Arrowhead area of Glendale, North Glendale. And I'd also welcome you to take a look at our website at your leisure to see a little more of what we do in other parts of the West. We were founded on 3 principles that we still hold very dear. One is to honor God in our business practices and relationships. We always start presentations by telling people that, but I want to explain what that means for us. We don't preach in our communities. This is not a faith-based or nonprofit community. We are a for-profit company. What's important about us saying that is we want people to understand who we are and how we make decisions. Our personal faith really drives the way that we view business and the way that we view partnerships and the way that we serve seniors. Second is to value all seniors as gifted and contributing individuals. Ultimately, that's what we do. We serve seniors. And lastly, we want to invest generously in our employees' ability to do that, to serve seniors. They're the ones that are in our communities using their hands and feet to actually care for everyone's families that live under our roofs. So back to what it is exactly that we're doing, as is explained in the package you have in front of you. This is an assisted living community, so it functions like a commercial use, but looks very residential, which makes it a bit tricky sometimes from a zoning perspective. It's not licensed as a nursing home. That's a very different set of regulations. It requires things like medical doctors to be on staff. It requires very different physical construction specifics, wider doorways, different types of construction, requires higher parking, generates more traffic, things like that. The goal of assisted living is to create a residential home-like environment where residents can still receive care. So one thing that has happened over the last 20 to 30 years and continues to happen is assisted living is by and large replacing the traditional notion of a nursing home. We certainly still have nursing homes and skilled nursing communities, long-term care communities. Those are being used more and more for things like rehab and for shorter-term stays, and more residential environments like what we create in assisted living is really replacing the longer-term stays in a nursing environment. So we'll have things in this community like 24-hour bistro. We'll have restaurant-style dining with a culinary trained chef. We'll have multiple courtyards. It really feels and looks more like a resort than it does a medical use. But that said, it is a full-blown business and has significant economic impact. I'll get into some of that here in just a second. To clarify on the financial structure for this, especially in Arizona, there are a lot of large retirement communities called continuing care retirement communities that typically require large investments up front by residents. They require large buy-ins or entry fees, sometimes north of $1 million, and then there would be a monthly service fee. That's not the way that this would be structured. This would be a rental product. All of the leases would be month to month. And I won't spend much time here on the footprint or the size of the building because you guys have that and you've seen the elevations, and we'll spend some more time on the more technical aspects in a moment. Anytime we approach a project, we want to think about all the people that it impacts. So certainly the seniors, but as we think about it, there are three primary stakeholders every time we develop and operate a project. First of all, it's the seniors, the people that we're caring for. Second, it's the neighborhood. We want to fit into the neighborhood. We want to be good neighbors. And lastly, it's the city, in this case, the town of Fountain Hills. We want to be an important and vital part of a vital business community. We want to contribute to that. So specifically, how do we do that? First, we want to provide a high-quality option for aging residents to stay in Fountain Hills regardless of their care needs as they age. That really goes two primary directions. One, it is for the residents themselves to stay in Fountain Hills, to be able to stay even in the town center, in the community where they've invested for their adult lives and where they've grown families and where they've had jobs and really created a life for themselves. We're very firm believers that just because people age and need more care doesn't mean they should be banished to live out in the outskirts of town somewhere. Most of our projects are infill projects like this. They're near to shopping and employment centers. They're convenient. Getting to the second piece of this first prong, they're convenient for families. So in this case, that really is a major driver for this project. While this site does not lend itself clearly to other types of commercial or residential uses for several reasons that I won't delve into now, it is in the core of the town center, and once it's built, will drive traffic to the town center and will contribute to the vibrancy and the vitality of that area, certainly when combined with the other new development coming down the pipe. When an adult child puts their family member, their loved one, into an assisted living community, they want it to be convenient, right? And that not only drives retail traffic when they're coming to visit their family member, but it also increases resident family visits, which improves the general quality of life for the residents. So for those two primary reasons, it's very important to us to be in an area near to other things that people want to do and need to do on a daily basis. Enhance and complement the neighborhood. Again, I won't speak a lot to that now because we're going to get into the specifics of the design of the building and how it fits into the plan here in a moment. But lastly, I want to spend just a minute on the economic impacts. These projects are a bit unique, frankly. They create a significant economic engine, but they do it in a uniquely low-impact way. We create literally almost no traffic statistically. The impact, and I can answer more questions on this and provide detail, but the traffic impact of a project of this size, actually of this project based on the third-party traffic study we had done, at peak hour in the PM, this will create about one additional car every 2.5 minutes. So it really doesn't create traffic. It doesn't cause jams. It doesn't create the need for more signals. But it does that while still creating 70-plus new jobs, almost $2 million of annual payroll. That's not including payroll taxes. That's just raw payroll. The development and construction process itself will result in over $1 million of near-term taxes, and that's a combination of a variety of impact fees that you guys are all familiar with, the sewer fees, permit fees, taxes on the construction materials. And overall, we're a very low user of city infrastructure and resources. Obviously, the traffic piece speaks for itself, but our residents don't have kids that are going to schools. They're not driving themselves. So there is an impact on the fire departments, but actually when senior residents live in a congregate community like this, it tends to cut down on the ultimate number of calls to fire departments because not only are they living in a safer environment with 24-hour care, but frankly, the physical environment is better suited to their needs. So we have fewer incidences of falls and things of that nature. So back to what is it that we're doing? Creating a high-quality option for aging residents to stay here. I want to speak just to the quality piece for a moment. And again, you could look on our website and see tons of pictures, or even visit a community that's open here locally if you'd like. But I wanted to show a couple of pictures that give you a sense for what it is that we're doing and speak to really the resort-like atmosphere that we create. This is a picture actually of our project over in Arcadia. This is the bistro, open 24 hours a day. As you can see, it's a very, very high level of finish. Custom furniture, hardwood floors in this case, stained grade paneling, all solid surfaces. It really is these are beautiful projects. An example of a project of ours in Colorado, very different type of architecture. This wouldn't be appropriate in this neighborhood or frankly in this city in most places. Fits well into the neighborhood where we built and operate this one. But it gives you a sense again for the general quality of the construction, the quality of the landscaping. This is a photo of the outdoor area, the courtyard space, very, very similar to what we will be constructing here in Fountain Hills. This is, again, of our Arcadia project. A couple of photos of another project of ours in Colorado. The picture on the left, we create as much open space, open living area as possible, really modern designs. It looks nothing like what, again, a lot of people have in their minds when they think of a senior living community. Another courtyard area there on the right-hand side with an outdoor fire pit. Just another example of the level of finish that we employ in our projects, stained grade wood, fireplaces, etc. This is specific data related to traffic. I don't want to spend too much time here. I already spoke to it. Unless people have specific questions, happy to talk about it. But this is just the actual result of the study that we had done that shows that statistically this at peak hour will generate about one car every 2.5 minutes, 24 total cars in the hour. With that, I'm going to hand things over to our architect, Wade Felkins, and I'll be available for any questions. I'm happy to answer questions now, or we can wait until we finish the presentation and do it all at once, whatever you prefer.
Does council have any questions now? Okay, we'll go on with the presentation.
Great, thank you.
Get us back to the site plan.
There's some seats down here if anybody standing in the back wants to sit down. Okay.
Mayor Kavanaugh, Vice Mayor Brown, my name is Wade Felkins, Landmark Design Architects. I'm the architect of record for the Morningstar Fountain Hills project. Madam Mayor, I'm a former member of, and shortly to be again, a resident of Fountain Hills, looking for property here shortly. While I was here previously, served as a member of the Architectural Control Committee for the town. We've completed 8 projects here in the town. The latest was the Avenue of the Fountains Park improvements. Glad to see that the art nodes are going to be utilized. That's very exciting. My involvement with the subject site started after the current landowner and seller, Mr. Sam Gambacorta, purchased the property back in 2004. We had just completed our second project together, the Desert Sage project on El Lago Boulevard, and when Sam purchased the southwest corner of Avenue of the Fountains and Verde River Drive, shortly thereafter he purchased the piece to the east, which includes the 3 lots that you have before you tonight. Over the years, Sam and I have consulted with one another, and he's asked me on many, many occasions, you know, when we're looking at this, we've just discussed a variety of different possible uses, and during those discussions, he'll often ask me, Wade, if this were your property, what would you do? And I'm pretty quick with an answer with most of the property. The challenge that we've always had in our discussions is what to do with these 3 one-acre parcels. In discussing this with him, we talked about the challenges that they face with trying to come up with a use for these lots. They lack sufficient traffic flow to ensure that any retail use would thrive. The glut of unleased space throughout the town makes the possibility of a commercial office building pretty unlikely. I don't think that we would be able to get anyone interested in building a commercial project there with given the amount of unleased space that we have currently in the town. Looking at other uses like row houses or other single-family residential, if you notice the photograph that we have there is from the vision plan that showed row houses, I think, in the original concept. They really don't work for that because there are some overlapping and somewhat conflicting requirements between the area-specific plan and the TCCD district requirements. Apartments, condominiums, they wouldn't really work because of the density restrictions, and they just wouldn't allow for sufficient revenue to service the cost of the land and the construction debt. That combined with the staff's comments with regard to the need for mixed use, a prominent park, those types of amenities would create a number of obstacles in trying to make a multifamily project viable on these lots. There's an existing hotel immediately to our east, so a hotel option is really not viable. And Sam and I had several conversations. One was with a physical rehabilitation company out of the Midwest that wanted to relocate here. We did some site studies with them that evaporated along with a couple of different theater proposals, one of which I'm not sure that council ever saw. We did one very, very early on. That results in a very short list of possible uses. Institutional occupancy is really the only option I see that creates the best use for these lots. I just finished a conceptual design on 2 other senior centers with Mr. Shea, president of Van Shea Group. I felt that maybe the time was right to develop a property of that type here in Fountain Hills. Since I've been working with Sam on this property, put the two of them together and discussed the possibility, and it seemed like it would be a good fit. The plan that you see here, the site plan that we've generated, is a result of over 6 months of work by our team. We feel that it represents the best use possible for these 3 one-acre lots. I'd like to address a few comments from staff. I noticed that staff has recommended approval of the vast majority of the requests, and so I'd like to limit my comments this time just to address 3 issues. One is the minor general plan amendment, resolutions 2015-31, and 2 zoning ordinance waivers, parking waiver request and the dumpster waiver request. Resolution 2015-31, the minor general plan amendment. Staff has provided what I feel is only part of the story. In August of 2009, Swabeck Partners introduced what they termed a strategic framework plan for the downtown. The plan divided the downtown into 9 areas and placed the subject site in an area labeled South End District. The plan was originally termed a visioning exercise, and as such didn't receive any formal approval from potentially affected property owners. In December of 2009, Town Council adopted the vision plan and renamed it the Downtown Area Specific Plan, some provisions of which staff has used to justify a recommendation of denial on our minor general plan amendment. Within the body of both versions, both the vision statement and in the area-specific plan, there's a statement in here that reads in part, while the vision framework plan provides a snapshot in time of a single preferred scenario for development, it is important that flexibility remains within the context of any future initiatives. No one has a crystal ball with all the answers to future economic factors, conditions, and directions. The town needs to be able to react to possible alterations in the vision direction that may impact the physical organization of the downtown. Staff has also failed to mention that the goals cited in the area-specific plan, the mixed-use character, village square element, they conflict with the 2008 provisions contained in the town center commercial district zoning. TCCD is currently the recorded zoning for the subject parcels. While within the TCC district, there are no such requirements. The zoning of the subject site allows for development of an assisted living facility, subject only to the approval of a special use permit. As the vision plan cites, the need for flexibility does not mandate a single vision, and that our current zoning allows for assisted living. We feel strongly that our application should be approved as it is an entitled use under TCCD regulations. The landowner approved the zoning change from C2 to TCCD, but that approval did not include any provision to incorporate any vision plan design requirements. Now, this is not to say that the applicant doesn't share the town's vision. In fact, the applicant is under contract with Mr. Gambacorta to purchase the adjoining parcels, and my firm was retained in December of 2014 to develop a master plan for the remaining vacant land. The master plan was submitted in January and has been a subject of numerous newspaper articles and chats on the social media. The staff has given us a lengthy list of comments, I think over 180 for the entire master plan. We're currently working on a revised concept which will address staff's concerns, such as mixed-use development, prominent park, and village square elements. In that plan, we intend to meet or exceed many of the town's stated goals for the creation of a vibrant downtown. I feel that Morningstar of Fountain Hills will make an effective transition between the residential use to the south and further downtown development. It provides a safe, secure, stable base from which to build the town's core. The business model is sound, and as staff has mentioned in the fiscal impact statement, the operation of this community will provide jobs as well as tax revenue for the town. 2 other issues that I'd like to address regarding our concept plan design, the parking stall depth. We're requesting that we adjust the depth or the length of the parking stall, not the width. We want to adjust it down from 19 feet to 17 feet, taking the 2 feet and reducing the pavement section and creating additional 2 feet of landscape buffer underneath the cars. If you go out into the parking lot here in the town, the spaces average anywhere from around 18 and a half, 1710 if you measure them, to the face of the curb. Most of the cars that you'll see out in the parking lot, when they pull face into the curb, they usually have about 2.5 feet behind the back of the space. And so what we would like to do is simply relocate the curb forward and allow us to put in a larger landscape buffer around the perimeter of the property. City of Mesa, they require 9 by 18 spaces with a 23-foot wide two-way drive. We're providing 26. They allow for the 2-foot overhang, as well as cities of Scottsdale and Chandler. They're also 9 by 18 with a 24-foot wide drive. We feel that the adjustment will give us additional landscaping, reduce some of the heat island effect created by large parking areas. The dumpster waiver request. We're asking for a reduction in the required number of trash dumpsters. This facility will generate less than half the amount of trash that would be generated by an apartment complex of equal density. And we're also planning to do a future trash dumpster just off of the corner, our northeast corner. You can see a portion of that just off of our site plan right here in this area. The page is cut off just because we didn't want to create any confusion about what is going to be phased as part of the Morningstar application. The vision plan, when first presented, ended with a section entitled "Of All That Has Been Suggested." In that summation, Swaback Partners concluded with the following question: how can this process be best manifested into the future? Several bullet points were listed, 3 of which were sell plan to developers, sell plan to people, and vision champions. Mayor Kavanaugh, Vice Mayor Brown, council members, we stand here tonight sold on that vision. We have a developer with funding in place to implement that vision. We have many members of the citizenry here from the town who are in support of that vision. We want to be your vision champions. And by approving this application, you help us to take that first crucial step toward achieving that vision. And thank you.
All right, thank you. Does that conclude your presentation?
We're open for questions and comments.
All right, I'm opening up to council. Questions for the applicants?
I have questions for staff,
Oh, okay. Or questions for staff.
but I'll rescind if someone, before he packs up, if anyone has.
Anybody have a question for the applicants before we go to staff?
Not at this,
Councilman
not at this time.
Councilman Magazine.
I have a few questions for the gentleman from Morningstar, if I could. In your other facilities, do you have trained medical personnel on staff?
We have a combination of licensed practical nurses and registered nurses.
Okay. And in any of your other facilities comparable in terms of numbers of beds?
They are.
What has been the incidence of the need for emergency vehicles in those facilities?
Statistically, we actually ran an analysis of our other projects. We have, I can't remember if it was 5 or 6, that is almost the exact unit count of this project. And we did a 12-month analysis of emergency vehicles, both with sirens and lights and non-emergent trips of emergency vehicles. And it resulted in statistically roughly 1 visit per week, and about 2/3 of those were emergency visits.
And is the mix of beds similar in terms of the kinds of folks you'll have there?
It's the same.
One a week?
Effectively the same.
Okay. And what's the percentage occupancy of some of your other facilities? What have you seen?
For projects that have, in quotes, stabilized or are not in the original lease-up, our average occupancy is north of 90%.
North of 90%. How many dumpsters do you have?
It ranges by project and by size, but for a project like this,
comparable size.
Right, of comparable size, we typically have 2 dumpsters, sometimes 1. We would either have 2 4-yard dumpsters or 1 8-yard dumpster, generally.
And you know why I'm asking?
I do.
For those who are not privy to it, it's because you've indicated, I believe, that you want to put in 2 dumpsters and staff is saying 4. Is that correct? No? Okay. 1.
I believe the
Or
request is
misunderstood.
for 1 dumpster, correct.
Oh.
Yeah, it's for 1 larger dumpster.
Last question. If this is approved, would you be putting in, for example, some fairly large, mature trees, bushes, shrubs, as a site buffer from the condominiums?
I'll defer that question to the architect or to Bart Shade with regard to the specifics of the caliper size.
Mayor, Councilman. We're going to be putting in, the offsites are pretty much complete on Paul Norton at this time right now. On the front side of the project, we have trees, and on the front side of the buildings, we have trees. Right now, we're scheduled for anywhere from a 24 to a 42-inch box in that front end, depending how it comes out of the building. Those are pretty large trees.
Yeah, and when you say the front end, you mean?
The Paul Norton side.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question for staff? All right, Bob, you're up.
Hello, Bob. Does the building height exceed the height minimum in this area?
Minimum or maximum?
Maximum? Well, yeah, maximum, thank you.
No, not even close. What maximum is 48 feet in that area.
And this building height is going to be what?
31.
31.
31 and 3 inches.
Tell me why you didn't like the 19 foot long parking to the 17 foot, even though it's still going to be the same size, but just landscape instead of asphalt.
Yeah, the concern with the parking is they're going to be shorter spaces, which is more closely resembling a compact space. The site is significantly overparked right now with 91 spaces versus the 28 that would be required. So in our mind, they had room to actually keep the proper size spaces. Allowing the vehicles to overhang into the landscape areas is okay as long as there are no bushes or trees or anything right there that are going to hit the cars or get into those. Then you get the leakage and stuff that's into the ground areas. So we try not to allow that either.
Okay. To piggyback a little bit on Councilmember Magazine, why do you feel why do you feel 3 dumpsters are needed when the applicant's saying that they operate 20 some of these and they've calculated that one is needed?
It's not me that feels it. It's the ordinance that requires it based on the square footage of this use. It requires X number of dumpsters per X amount of square footage. That calculation came out to 4 dumpsters.
Let me rephrase the question. What use are you looking at this?
Commercial use. Well, it's in a commercial area, commercial use, a commercial-sized building.
I guess what I'm saying is it sounds like you're deeming this a residential apartment building as opposed to a commercial or institution use.
The dumpster section doesn't really even talk about the use per se. It's just the size of the building.
Okay.
It's a simple calculation in the zoning ordinance.
Madam Mayor, one more question. I'm very familiar with the vision plan. I was on planning and zoning when we did TCCD. Elaborate on why you feel this doesn't meet the vision plan after what everything was said, and in light of, and I love the car dealership and I love the out of the box, but that specific site from the vision plan looked like it was supposed to be a movie theater. So how did we not need a vision plan change on that one, but this one we do?
All 9 districts in the downtown area are mixed-use districts. They were each given their own general character, significantly different, but not so different. They were all interchangeable to a certain point. This one was primarily a residential district in the back with the commercial along the avenue. That was what this district was supposed to do with the park and everything else. But it was all designed to create this vibrant and downtown area. The use of an assisted living facility in staff's mind didn't lead towards a vibrant and active downtown.
Madam Mayor, one last, but with the TCCD, it is a permitted use, correct?
It's a special use permit use.
But it's permitted under the TCCD ordinance, zoning overlay?
With a special use.
With a special use permit?
Yes.
Do you see a conflict there?
Yeah, but it's not the first time you've had zoning conflicting with your general plan. And then remember, the general plan is up here and the zoning is below it. There may be a conflict, but this PAD would take care of that conflict by moving it out of the special use permit category.
Okay.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
Thanks, Bob.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to share that I've spent some time visiting with the Swalback group that assembled our vision plan for us, and several conversations, lengthy conversations with Jeff and John about how to handle the review as to whether this project would fit the vision plan and the area-specific plan. And after several lengthy conversations, it finally came out to yes, the developer has been in our office. He has presented their entire Park Place as well as Morningstar listed assisted living. Say that twice, huh? and it is pretty remarkable. We last decided between Jeff and John and myself that the letter should probably be written to the developer himself, and I would like to share with you only the portion that pertains to the Morningstar assisted living. And they write, thank you for providing a review of your master plan vision for downtown Fountain Hills. Your project is certainly in line with the intent of the master plan and subsequent specific area plan. We endorse the proposed assisted living facility as part of your overall proposal. This provides an important use for Fountain Hills and its residents. So if there's any question about whether this is actually going to fit in for the vision plan, the group that spent a year probably, maybe a little more than a year and a half, putting this entire vision plan together, that wrote the vision plan for us and put it together, is supporting this assisted living facility. And I will read again. We endorse the proposed assisted living facility. So I don't know where the conversation is even coming up as to whether it's part of the area specific plan or if it isn't, or if it will work in the, I mean, it's clearly being supported by the Swalback group. So with that being said, I don't know exactly where staff has come up with the idea that it doesn't fit with the vision plan. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Hanson.
Wasn't I quick?
Yes, you are. I didn't even touch the gavel.
This is just a clarification on the square footage. So we're talking, going back to the dumpster calculation. When you figure that, is it like the entire footprint? Do you take out like the interior courtyard space? Or is all that interior courtyard space included in the overall square footage?
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's just the building footprint.
Okay. So, but it would be fair to say that you could reduce it by the amount of the open space courtyard.
I don't think it was. I don't think it would have been counted. It was that whatever the square footage of the building itself was. The square footage of the
like
the courtyards wouldn't have been counted.
The outside and putting it in the middle of the building, so it doesn't seem like that should be calculated in, but just an aside.
Anything else? Councilman Lachey?
Mayor, if I may, Bob, just would you like to sit down and get back up? Get your exercise this evening. Okay. I would like to say to those residents that sent emails today and late last night, my apologies for not responding to them. I got them rather late. I try to respond to those that I had received earlier. And this whole thing is passionate on both sides. And as a council, we've been working for years trying to develop out that particular area. And I also spent a year and a half on the SWABAC group with that particular plan. And the takeaway from that was the theme, and the theme was mixed use. So when I look at what we're talking about here, it does fit the definition of mixed use. The only downside is that, of course, the plan is not being accomplished at one swoop. It's in stages. So that being said, I continue to listen to both sides. I need to make a decision. I will make a decision, so I want to be very thorough in my decision. But something that I find that's quite interesting, in the majority of the letters that I've received from the residents, who I respect, they live in a very nice condo development. The village at Town Center, very nice, been there. My daughters have babysat in there. It's a great place to live and to visit. But what I find perplexing is a lot of those letters were very concerned about an assisted living use. And just for the heck of it, I went back and looked at the TCCD. In other words, what would be permitted under the TCCD zoning? Zoning typically prescribes or designates land use. And these are some of the things I came up with, and I'm just asking you to confirm whether I'm, out to lunch or not while you're standing there. But let me go through the whole list first. It's like don't clap until, someone's done speaking. It says permitted uses. First of all, as was indicated earlier, 40 feet are permitted or 48 feet permitted. What are we looking at here, 31 feet?
Correct.
Okay, so that's an interesting argument. But permitted uses right now, and I'm not sure if the residents that live in the village are aware of this, are an amusement arcade, banks, child care centers, food stores, furniture stores, health spas, gymnasiums, hotels, motels, parking garages, private schools, academic, and public and private schools, vocational. That's basically several that I picked from a list of, I think, 37 uses in that particular area. And I'm very sensitive to your concerns about where you're living and what's being built there. I think either one of these uses, which is in fact permitted, could have what you would consider as adverse effect as you're implying with the assisted living facility. And the odd thing is that the assisted living facility is actually a permitted use by special use permit. And it's not uncommon when we're looking at developing areas to look at special use permits. And in that, most of the opposition that I have received, well, probably, frankly, all the opposition I've received, no, most of it, has been from the village at Town Center. This is the question I have for you. That's C2 zoning, is that correct?
Yes.
How did residential end up there?
That was a special use permit use.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Bob? Councilwoman Hanson?
Bob, is there a particular ordinance that says that all of those 5 lots that are in that one block need to be developed at one time, or planned and developed at one time?
An ordinance? No.
So there would be nothing then that would dictate that this whole thing needs to be planned and presented at one time?
No, the issue with this wasn't with the entire thing being presented as one big project, because yes, this assisted living facility would be part of the mixed use and would be part of the mix. It would be a very nice project. The issue became having this as a standalone project like it is. A standalone project that is related to another project which may not or may happen.
I think many of the concerns we heard were that this shouldn't be allowed to go forward without the other components. And I guess I was thinking, you know, what if there were two different property owners? You know, and they were only looking at developing the three lots for the proposed center.
They would have to go
That
through the
wouldn't be a
same
question then. It would be allowed to be considered and be allowed to possibly.
It would go through the same process this is going through if it was the same use, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, the advantage to going last is that just about all my questions have been answered. And just except for one, another point that was brought out in many of the letters that we received was that this is not necessary in Fountain Hills. There's no need for it. And when I attended the PNC meeting, I remember that question was asked, and I believe it was Paul Mood who answered it. Do you have Paul's notes? He did investigate the Fountain View Village.
I don't, but they are in the P and Z minutes, which should be in your packet. But I think he said they were like 90% occupancy at.
Yes, that's what I remember. And the majority of the people were either people who lived in Fountain Hills who gave up their homes and wanted to live there, or they were relatives of people living in Fountain Hills. And that's pretty much my memory. Okay, that's all I had. Okay, thanks, Bob. And do we have speaker cards?
Mayor, we have 7 speaker cards. We have 1 card from a citizen who wanted you to know they opposed the project.
That they don't want to speak?
Correct. They do not want to speak.
Okay.
The other cards, we'll start with David Bickler.
All right. Let me remind everyone that you have 3 minutes. I don't have that ugly, rude buzzer that other people have, but watch the little box, and when it hits red, your 3 minutes are up. So please try and stay within the time limit. Thank you.
I'm David Bickler, MD. There are 12 licensed assisted living businesses operating in Fountain Hills. None are located anywhere near Fountain Lake. Those business owners had the common sense to know that locating an assisted living facility or home in such a location would not be safe for their residents. The reason is that residents wander from such facilities. It is common. Wandering occurs from assisted living facilities because residents are not supervised 24 hours a day. It also occurs from memory units within these facilities. They are not escape-proof. Regarding wandering residents, drowning is among the top 3 causes of death when residents wander. Drowning of residents who wandered has occurred at a number of places in the U.S. in recent years. Wandering residents choose the path of least resistance, downhill, and they wander an average of a half mile. Individuals with dementia are especially vulnerable to drowning as in lakes, as they are known to walk straight into water without recognizing the danger. The town's property, Fountain Lake and Park, are in a dangerous condition given what is known about wandering residents. The lake is downhill and well within the half mile of the proposed site. The lake has a very long perimeter, none of which is fenced. The lake has downsloping terrain toward its shoreline, encouraging wandering residents to walk to the water's edge and fall forward into the water. The lake also has a large fountain which will attract many Morningstar residents, greatly increasing the chance that one or more will wander to the lake's edge, fall in, and drown. If the very real possibility of a drowning at Fountain Lake is not enough to have you rethink the location of this project, perhaps the enormous financial cost to the town if such an unfortunate event occur will. The liability for actual and punitive damages in a drowning case are huge, on the order of tens of millions of dollars. Morningstar of Fountain Hills, a limited liability corporation, would have little or no financial resources to pay for such settlement, leaving the town to be named as a responsible party. After all, the town was warned tonight by a physician that residents wander and they drown. This has occurred other places. It's foreseeable it will occur here. The town has been told in advance that the lake was a dangerous condition given what is known about wandering residents. All of the above considered, this proposal makes no sense for safety reasons and is a tremendous financial risk to this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Valley Goforth.
Please just state your name, town you live in, your resident.
Valley Goforth, Fountain Hills resident. From what I understand, approval is being sought for the assisted living facility to get the green light. However, there are many residents, myself included, concerned with the rest of the project and are asking for full disclosure of the plans before anything gets approved. Yet even with full disclosure, I personally would not want four-story structures going up on the avenue if that in fact is planned. We have ordinances in place to protect the character of our town, and the character of Fountain Hills, its small town atmosphere, and its setting are the reason so many of us have moved here. I'm even fond of the lack of sidewalks and especially the absence of streetlights. We often hear stories of people from out of state driving around the valley to find a fitting place to settle, only to stumble across Fountain Hills and to fall in love. I moved to Globe from the East Coast in 2003 and discovered Four Paws General Store, which no longer exists, while I was looking for good quality dog food. Rather than me making the long trek, one of the owners delivered my orders all the way to Globe, until the day I read their brochure when I discovered they had a weekly yappy hour. So my dog Tyler and I made our weekly 2-hour trek. This was prior to the extension of the 202 to Fountain Hills. The first time I drove into Fountain Hills, I was in awe at the beauty of this town, nestled into its amazing surroundings. I had not expected that. We made the weekly trek for a year. The dog park people referred to me as a crazy lady from Globe. I figured the best way to get rid of that label was to move here, which I did in fall of 2004. Some view the empty lot as an eyesore on Avenue of the Fountains. Others see open space. Even if the lot is seen as an eyesore by some, it nevertheless has the potential for something that will enhance our town aesthetically and financially. If amendments are granted to build 4-story structures spanning 2 blocks, the buildings will become a permanent eyesore to many. And I wonder if there wouldn't be a better location for these apartments. And this is just addressing the aesthetic aspect of this planned project. Then there's the question of how likely it will be that the retail spaces will be filled, and if so, if they will have enough business in spite of the hoped-for residents to the apartments, if they have enough business to survive. We don't know for sure if current businesses will relocate to the avenue. The current businesses here in town would locate to the avenue. It's costly to move. The rent will most likely be higher than where they currently are, and there's no guarantee that their business would increase to cover the extra expenses. In addition to that, their move would increase the number of already existing empty retail spaces. Also, how will the character of the avenue change with 400 apartments?
Can I stop you right there?
Yes.
We're only dealing with the assisted living facility. If you wanted to speak on other items that are not agendized, that would be at the beginning. Okay, we're only speaking on the agendized item, which is the assisted living, so if you could
I thought because it was connected.
No, it's not. This is only what we're talking about right now. So if you could just.
So this would have been then a public call?
That would have been a call to the public in the beginning when you can talk on anything you want.
Oh, gosh. All right.
Okay,
Sorry.
but you're almost finished, so just finish up,
Thanks
okay?
for that. All right. Also, how will the character of the avenue change with 400 apartments? If filled, this would mean hundreds of residents and hundreds of cars. Is approval of these plans going to be based on meeting real needs that will enhance our community, or is approval based on the hope of getting the most bang for the buck as far as potential and hope for tax revenue is concerned, at the expense of what makes Fountain Hills a town so many of us love? I understand there's people who just want something to fill the space, which reminds me of the phrase, we've got to do something, anything, just do something. Inherent in forcing a solution or in just making do is the law of unintended consequences, which often aggravates what was intended to be resolved. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Next.
Todd Brechtel.
Okay, remember, we're only talking about the assisted living facility that's on the agenda. Keep in 3 minutes, and your name and...
Todd Brechtel, Fountain Hills resident since 1993.
All right, thanks.
I'm here to, I'm just excited that we have this group here presenting a wonderful opportunity for us. And I think it's a perfect spot for the Assisted Living Center. So I would urge you to vote to amend what you need to out of all those items I saw in the back. Because I think it's a perfect spot, and I think it's a great opportunity for the town of Fountain Hills to move forward with this group. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yvonne Wyman.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Wyman. I'm here as a resident of 36 years and a business owner for 32 years. And I've seen this land be vacant for such a long time. It's refreshing to see that there's going to be some development possibly here in our downtown area. I think it will generate an awful lot in other buildings and things going on. But it's a beautiful building, as Matt lined out. It really has a lot of positives. It's a classy place. Fountain Hills I consider as a classy place. It's a little spot of heaven. I just don't want to live and die here and never see it developed. But I also wanted to say, it's just interesting, the gentleman, two people before me, about the wandering people. And I, by far, am not anyone to really comment on it, except for I guess I'm going to, because I live up on Sunflower. And I was out for a walk one morning, and there was a woman that stopped in a car, and she asked me, and I thought she was going to ask me where her dog was. And she said, well, I'm looking for my mother. This woman ended up, I found out later, that she had wandered clear up from Sunflower all the way down into the downtown area. So I think we don't know where, and how people with these different, issues and how it will come. But we can't make those decisions and not move forward on just that one thing, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Linda Bordeaux.
The last jacket comes off.
You're the holder.
Linda, you did it.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have a few questions. My main
Linda
concern.
Bordeaux from
Oh, my name's
Fountain
Linda
Hills.
Bordeaux, and I'm from Fountain Hills. My main concern was noise complaints. I remember a council meeting a couple years ago when Grapeables started doing outdoor entertainment, and we had a lot of residents from Fountain Lake area that were complaining about the noise from Grapeables, which was generally one solitary singer, possibly a duo, and a small little speaker. And we had a lot of complaints about that. My concern with this placement of this property is we're going to have a lot of older folks living there, and we have event after event on the avenue. We have Halloween in the Hills. We have lots of activities. We have music at the hotel. We have music at the All-American. And I don't want to hear about noise complaints. If they're going to build this there, they have to be aware of the fact that it's going to be noisy. There's going to be children, and that's just part of the deal, or don't move in there. That's a big concern of mine. After listening to everybody talk, I had a few questions. One being the dumpster. If they're going to have a bistro on that property, restaurants generate quite a bit of trash, as I know Councilmember Yates is familiar with the restaurant industry. I can't imagine one dumpster being sufficient for the restaurant and the whole facility. The other thing I wanted to know, I know we're not supposed to say this, but it came up, is the assisted living facility build contingent on the project up and down the avenues with the storefronts and the above units? If that is, then I don't think that's fair. They should do them separately. I have some concerns about rentals that have still been 3 years for rent that I saw when I went to move my practice from Colony Drive to Smith Family Chiropractic. They're still for rent 3 years later. I'm also a little concerned. Our fire department number 822, the one on Palisades, would be the lead call for this unit. They're kind of busy already, so anytime they have a call for this facility, that's going to just create more work for our fire personnel and our EMTs. Let's see. The SWABEC plan, that was done over a decade ago, and when they started the SWABEC, wasn't it over a decade ago, correct, Councilmember Brown?
No.
Was it 5 years? Okay, I thought it was closer to a decade. That was still before we lost a lot of our younger population. So I don't know if there needs to be tweaks to that plan. I mean, I get what they're saying about the general use and where to put things and so on and so forth, but I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was a little older than that. In terms of the town benefiting from this project, I know it's a month-to-month. Does the town make a tax on a rental of said unit? And if so, does that also apply to other things that will occur inside the facility? Like if one of the folks gets their hair done in the salon, does the town accrue taxes from that, or eating in the bistro? So I wanted to know if somebody could answer those questions, and I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I get it. A lot of people want a swimming pool. They want kid facilities. The problem is the town doesn't own this property. We have to have a developer come in and do it. And unless the developer says, I'll build a pool, that's not what we have here in front of us. I get that would be nice, but I think we should take into consideration some of the things, especially the noise. And I was kind of alarmed to hear that people wander from these facilities. That might also be something worth thinking about, especially if the town is going to be liable. I know we're on real tight funds here, and the last thing we need is a lawsuit. I can see my time is up. All right. I know it's a long meeting. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Linda. Next.
Robert Rothbard.
Nope. Next.
That's it.
That's it, okay. Any further council discussion before I close the public hearing? All right, I have closed the public hearing. I need 4 separate motions as required for 29, 31, 33, and 35. Would anyone care to make a motion?
Mayor, I'd make a motion. I move to approve Resolution 2015-31, the Downtown Area Specific Plan Amendment, to allow an assisted living facility to be permitted use within the South End District as presented and subject to the stipulations outlined in the staff report.
Madam Mayor? Vice Mayor Brown, may I amend that?
Certainly.
I move to amend Councilman Brown's, Vice Mayor Brown's amendment to include the parking change requested by the developer to be 17 foot and 2 extra feet of landscaping, and to accommodate the dumpster needs as outlined by their operations.
Vice Mayor Brown? All right, do I have a second?
So is that,
He's,
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Brown's original motion is withdrawn.
And he is
Councilmember Yates is substitute, and we have a second. Okay.
Then can I second that?
Yes, you can.
Second.
You can second it. Any council discussion? Councilman Magazine.
I want to take a minute to thank the citizens who not only showed up this evening, but sent a number of emails, and to say that I fully understand your concerns. I really do, and I've struggled long and hard on this. To be perfectly honest, when I first heard about it and so on, I was very much in favor of it. But after studying the plan, looking at it carefully, taking another look at the property, I have to admit that I have some concerns, and all things being equal, I probably wouldn't support it. We don't live in an ideal world. We have to make difficult choices sometimes. Councilman Leger went through a list of possible developments for that property. I have a copy of it right here that I copied off. It's got, wherever it is, 37 different possible uses. And so by turning this down, it's really a roll of the dice. But it's a roll of the dice in another way, too. I know this hearing isn't supposed to be about Park Place, but I have a real concern that if this isn't approved, the developer will walk away from Park Place. I, for one, want to have a chance to take a good hard look at that plan. I think while I'm not prejudging it, I think the concept is good for the town. I think we need to have a real downtown. We don't have one now. We have commercial spread out all over the place. And I think this would give us a real downtown. We need more taxpayers. If Park Place is approved, with changes, I presume, would be about 600 residents. So, and if it's approved, I think some of the other vacant lots around town, around the downtown, are likely to be developed by developers. If we turn it down, no developer in their right mind is going to come to Fountain Hills and try to develop that property.
Can I stop for a second? I need to talk over to Andrew. We're talking about assisted living. Can we start talking about Park Place? I don't think we can. It's not agendized.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the same way as the speakers were limited, this is just the PAD. Well, right now the topic is the
And we're talking
general plan
That's fine.
amendment.
That's fine. I'm
And
finished.
we're talking on the motion right now.
Okay, I'm
Okay?
finished.
All right.
And can I clarify, the motion was, we're on the resolution that amends the specific area plan, and the motion Included the additional stipulations?
Included the request of the developers to have the parking stall be 17 foot with a 2-foot landscape as opposed to that additional 2 foot of asphalt. And then based on their operation analysis, to allow the 1 dumpster as opposed to the town requested 3 or 4, or however many.
It's probably more appropriate in the actual rezoning for the PAD because the specific area plan doesn't have that level of detail in it. It's specific area plan is a general plan issue. It doesn't have parking stall lengths and depths.
Okay.
That in the Morningstar PAD rezoning ordinance, it would be the appropriate place for that.
As then it would transfer it over to my amendment or my motion, then I'll rescind those 2 items as directed. You'll have to resecond.
And you still have a second? All right, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Number 31, I get a motion on number 31.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman Yates?
Move to approve Resolution 2015-32, the minor general plan amendment to allow a maximum residential density increase from 12 dwelling units per acre to 28 dwelling units per acre within the town center area as presented and subject to the stipulations outlined in the staff report. A question during that motion, Andrew, is this the spot or not till the very last pad?
The PAD rezoning.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
I had a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?